This week we tackled the rather serious topic of car hijacking. I can't remember when this whole business of car hijacking began. I mean, believe it or not, there was a time when people stole things from cars and not the actual car itself. But it's gotten so out of hand that we actually have signs that say, beware of car hijacking. It baffles the mind. But the question is, where and when are you most likely to become a victim of car hijacking, and how can you prevent it from happening to you? Contrary to popular belief, most hijackings are not random acts of opportunistic crime. They are well thought through, strategized events, carried out by criminals who know exactly what they want and how to get it. Unfortunately, motorists, because we drive distracted, sometimes play a role in making the lives of criminals a lot easier to get the cars or cell phone away from us. And that's when you are driving distracted, when you're not vigilant of your surroundings. You just become a sitting duck, almost. And it just makes it easier for these guys to come and ask you for your car.
Hijackings take place in intersections, corners and driveways of homes. But at intersections like this, where the lighting is poor, people are stood at the robots for considerable periods of time, and where people tend to daydream. So those are the vulnerable areas.
Like when we're on our phones, putting on mascara, makeup and that kind of stuff. But generally happens in the evenings or late at night or early hours of the morning, right?
Actually, it happens early morning when there's high volumes of traffic, evenings when people come home, dusk and dawn, and even during the day, but more during the day at secluded areas where there aren't great amounts of volume, where people are alone and standing at traffic lights.
Robin Heering tells us more about her horrific experience.
On the day of the hijacking, I was basically coming back from a meeting. It was about 11:30 in the morning. It was quite a difficult meeting, so I was running it through my head and wasn't really concentrating on the surroundings around me, and stopped at the robots about 500 meters away from my previous factory, and all of a sudden heard a gunshot. Well, sounded like a gunshot, and basically just came to, then heard another gunshot, and on the second loud bang, I turned to my window and saw that it had completely shattered, and there was someone with their fingers in the shatterproof glass trying to pull it out. My first thought was my handbag's behind my front seat, so I won't be able to turn and get it, so just put your hands up. So I put my hands up, and what I remember is him coming through the window, and I kept my cell phone in the door. So what I had done is I picked up the cell phone and basically handed it to him, and then all the lights in my car were flashing, and I thought I'd stalled. So that's another reason why I put my hand up. But then after about, must have been a second or two, I heard my car start again, and basically what I had done is I'd pressed the button for my car to restart again and drove off. And it's amazing how it's ingrained in you. As I looked up, the robot was red, so I stopped again. And thank goodness a tow truck driver had pulled up behind me and started hooting and came up next to me and said to me, just drive through the robot, because as I stopped, the hijackers came again, and he came through my passenger window and grabbed for all my keys, and I just put my hand on my hooter and drove straight through the robots and to my factory, where I stopped. Until you've actually experienced it, you can't really explain it to somebody. A couple of my friends, quite a few of my friends have been in attempted hijackings or muggings or that sort of thing, but basically it breaks you. I feel I'm quite a grounded person, but after this I felt absolutely broken inside, and what I felt is that because there was no physical, thank goodness, physical harm done to me. I mean, my car looked like a complete crime scene. There was glass everywhere. There were boulders because they had thrown the boulders in to break the windows. But externally, I was absolutely fine. But internally, I felt completely broken. Like, had you cut off my arms and my legs and stabbed me in the chest, that's basically how I felt inside. But you didn't see that on the outside. So people didn't really understand what was going on internally. I think there's a lot of inequality in this country, and that's why this happened. I don't understand the violence that has to happen in order for this to be done, in order for people to get cars or make money or that sort of thing. But I absolutely love this country. Yeah.
Dr. Love was held up for hours during his hijacking experience.
So I get to Bronco Sprite, and I remember, oh no, I have a friend here that I can call for him to direct me. Maybe he knows where this place is. And I call him, okay, please, I need you to accompany me to an event somewhere. I've got the address. We drive to his house. It's in the township. There was a car that was on the road, a small white car, hatchback car, and this car, I just went past it, and then it says, no, my house is there, just park on the right. He opened the door, he went outside the car. So whilst he's going, behind the car, going to his house, I am trying to mind something on the phone because I've charged the phone, it was getting flat. I'm trying to mind something, and then I hear a knock, a very hard knock on the right-hand door, on the right-hand side. And I look and I see, no man, this is a gun and this is dark. It's already, what is this? And I'm thinking, this open. And then I'm busy trying to find the button to open, fiddling. I can see something is not right, Whilst I'm doing that, somebody has jumped into the car. He's already hitting me. Where's my money? Where's my money? You thought you were going to run away with my money. I'm thinking, what money now? How much do I'm thinking, hey, I must just solving this. How much do I owe you? This other one is busy shouting, open. Whilst I saying open, 3 shots are fired outside. In no time, my head is right behind the driver's seat. And my back is on the other side of the seat, and there's someone sitting on top of me and holding me, strangling me from the back. You just come down to a moment that this is it. I'm being hijacked, and now 2 things I must think. I must not think about myself now. I must just calm down. The only thing that I must remember is that people live to tell the story, and I'm one of those people who are going to tell the story. There I am. I'm dropped off now. Then they've left. Then I walk through the veld for about another 30 minutes. It's already almost past 12:01, but I couldn't gauge the time. And then I got to the road. This story, for me, it has the 2 sides of it. It has the ordeal, and it has the side that actually made me a stronger person, a person who is more alert, a person who is more sensitive to the needs of life and other people, a person that must actually be sensitive to the fact and the plight that we actually need to pay attention. We don't need to give each other material. We need to pay attention to one another. Because I don't know for what reason, why did those boys, maybe out of them understanding and noticing that, no, I help people, and it calms them down, That, for me, is God at hand and at work.
We spoke to a certified counsellor who deals with trauma experiences. Direct, you are a registered counsellor, and you deal with trauma cases. Tell me what it is like for people coming in after having experienced such a horrific event.
So after a person experiences a hijacking incident or any other incident related to crime, a person often feels very overwhelmed. It is often an incident where the person's life may have been threatened, and he would feel as if it was a near-death experience. He could have been shot, he could have been injured. These are very frightening emotions. So there'll be a lot of conflicting emotions, very intense emotions, and as I said earlier, a person will feel overwhelmed, and sometimes, often, they need more than just the ordinary sympathy that they get from friends, colleagues, family members, and so on. And recovery from trauma is a process. It is not a quick fix that things just go back to normal within a day or 2 or even a week or 2. We normally say that up to 3 or 4 weeks is within normal range in terms of the person returning to a similar level of functioning as before the incident, because there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear in them, and they're just scared, really. So often it's about finding different routes. It's about exploring with them what would make them safer when they get home at 6 o'clock in the evening. What would make them safer? Is it for somebody else to be at home? Is it maybe a security company that can be at the gate, that can accompany them? Is it just having a cell phone that they can phone somebody in case they suspect anything? But it's very individual, it's different for everyone. So we often raise the question, what would make you feel safer?
People want to know more about hijacking. The internet is a wonderful source of information. Educate yourself, use the internet, use YouTube, community forums, speak to people who have been in those situations.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I really hope this doesn't happen to anybody out there.
Thank you.
Car hijacking is such a personal and intrusive crime. It violates not just your personal space, but also your emotions, and it can play havoc on your confidence. I mean, to try and get back behind the wheel of a car and drive around doing your ordinary chores, it takes a lot of strength. It's unfortunate that it happens, but should you fall victim to such a heinous crime, remember, the car is replaceable, but you are not. When I was a toddler, I had aspirations of driving fancy, expensive cars, which, well, that's come true. But that whole idea emanated from the fact that I was my father's spanner boy. Yeah, he was a bit of a mechanic. What we didn't know then was that I could have gotten into cars through go-kart racing without all the pesky requirements of licenses and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fabian, how are you doing?
All right, and you?
I am fantastic, and I want to go straight into asking you a couple of questions about your history in go-kart racing. When did you start?
I started at the age of 9. Motorsport family. My dad raced cars himself, so the obvious introduction into motorsport is that. I started in indoor karting. He owned an indoor karting place just up the road from his workshop, so it was quite easy accessible to go and play around there. And then I guess one day he thought, I'm a bit more serious about this than just playing around. He got my first kart at the age of 9, and then I'm 30 now, 21 years later, and I'm still having fun.
Okay, so what do you actually enjoy about go-kart racing?
I actually like the dynamics of the complexity actually of the motorsport and obviously racing the karts, the different setups you can do, the engine performance, trying to get that combination together to actually get the maximum out of it to then be the fastest on the track.
So where do you start? I mean, why, where, how, what's needed, how much? It looks expensive.
It is quite. So the starting off in karting can be quite daunting or intimidating. What we have in our racing team is we have some karts available for kids to actually start off in. So those that don't feel that they're for this, they don't have to invest in buying a kart and all the equipment and then having to sit with a kart that they now need to sell. So that's quite a nice introduction into the sport. And of course the ones that now really like it, we can find a kart suitable to them. I normally always say start with a second-hand kart, you know, have a bit of dings, a bit of, you know, crash or spin, something like that. And once you've done all of that, you can then go sell it and go buy a new kart.
We find out more from our future Formula 1 racers, how and why they love go-karting.
Dis net, die spoed is nogals lekker en dis baie lekker om weg te trek en dis baie lekker om mense verby te vat en om te wen. Ek's glad nie bang vir spoed nie.
Ever since I was little, I've always wanted to race cars, and this is the closest I could get to it. I love speed because when I go fast, then when the wind goes against me, I feel like I'm free. I think about when I'm gonna brake, when I'm accelerating, where I'm going. For me to be able to win, it takes aggressiveness and confidence. My ultimate car that I want to drive is Formula 1.
Well, the excitement of driving a go-kart is literally the G-force, and it's so close to you. Everything is just so in your face. It's just really, really exciting because of it's so close to you. Ideally, I'd like to do Le Mans or Formula One. It's really, I love driving.
What's the fastest you can actually go on one of these things?
So we have the 125cc shifter kart, which is 6 gears, is the fastest that you get on a kart circuit. And depending on the circuit, you can go up to about 160 kilometers an hour.
Okay, I'm taking you onto the racetrack. I don't think it's a good idea, especially after hearing about the 160 Ks on this track, which is not very big, so I'm a little bit nervous.
That's okay.
But I'm going to show you flames, girl.
Okay.
And to show how prepared I am, look.
You didn't even wear the heels.
Yeah, I've done this before in heels, and no, let's not go into detail. Shh. If my weave comes off on this, sometimes I get some really crazy ideas, like today. This probably isn't what I should be doing, but I am going to do it because I've already committed to it. It's going to get interesting, particularly trying to get into that car. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
A little bit more than I thought.
Well, that's good. There you go.
I was wondering, can I ever actually outgrow this?
No.
And I forgot how big the track was. I actually thought it was much smaller. Clearly, I haven't been here for a couple of years.
Yes.
And I forgot how sharp those bends are.
Especially that tight right. But you handled it. You saved it well.
I saw these tires coming up at me, and all I could do was scream. But I had fun. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Been test driving this past week is from an iconic car maker. Most of us grew up around this brand, but what we have today is something that's quite modern, quite stylish, and perfectly suited for those who need to get into their first car. Come check it out. The Datsun Go remix is definitely a winner gift. Any parent should consider giving it to their child to start their motoring journey. Well, at this price, it's not like you're going to expect a heck of a lot of things happening in the interior. It is spacious-ish. It is a 5-seater car. I think you'd have to be rather small. At least one person is going to have to be like minuscule. If you have normal-sized adults, then it may be a bit of a squeeze. But fortunately, nobody